Representative Castro.
Thank you. Undersecretary Rogers, your office is statutorily responsible under the State Department Organization Act for explaining U.S. foreign policy to foreign audiences. That's the core mandate of public diplomacy. You've testified and spoken publicly about your office's role in messaging a, quote, unified and affirmative vision of U.S. foreign policy abroad, and you've also traveled extensively to Europe to do exactly that. So I wanted to ask you, in your capacity as a principal official responsible for communicating U.S. foreign policy to the world, we know that this war is already having worldwide consequences. Shipping to the Straits of Hormuz is effectively shut down. American service members have lost their lives. Oil and gas prices worldwide have skyrocketed, and markets worldwide are in turmoil. So what message are you communicating to the world about U.S. goals in this war? And specifically, why did the president join Israel in going to war with Iran?
Thank you, Congressman. So because this is such a fluid, evolving, and kinetic situation, messaging on this conflict has been very tightly coordinated, and my office is not doing the diversity of messaging we would otherwise do on a more diffuse issue like freedom of speech, for example. But I think the alliances that we've nurtured and the relationships that we've fostered through exchange programs and other diplomatic engagements have borne fruit. I can remember I was sitting with an Australian sports reporter at the Indo-Pacific Rugby Forum.
Well, but let me ask you, I mean, you're supposed to be the main spokesperson for the State Department to the world. This is public diplomacy. So you're saying that they have sidelined you? That you're not part of that coordinated team effort?
We have a separate spokesperson's office, but I
Separate within the State Department?
There's a spokesperson and there's me. So I'm not technically the spokesperson. I'm sort of an executive that oversees various communications.
But you're in charge of public diplomacy, right?
But I'm in charge of public diplomacy, which includes some fast-twitch media messaging and it includes some educational and cultural programs. So in the initial days of a fluid and kinetic conflict,
But hold on, but I got to reclaim my time because I got to get some answers here.
Okay.
But the spokesperson is U.S. oriented. You're supposed to be speaking to the nations of the world, right? So if they've sidelined you, well, I guess, but tell me this. So what are the goals of this war?
So I would defer to the president and our military on the sort of tactical immediate goals, but I think the president has told us the strategic goal, which is that a regime whose motto is death to America cannot have a nuclear weapon. And I think a lot of Americans agree with that. Now, I think in terms of messaging around the world, we've seen the kinds of investments my office makes bear fruit. And the anecdote I was just about to share was that, around the time this conflict broke out, I was sitting with an Australian sports reporter, and we couldn't talk about, foreign policy in the course of this interview, but he said, Australia stands with you. And the reason Australia stands with us is because we've made investments in that relationship. Other allies of ours have stood with us as well, and I think as the situation evolves and our messaging approach diversifies, and it's not just focused minute to minute, then my office will have more diverse
this is an important
responses.
moment that we're in, and the idea that you would be sidelined, that your office would be completely sidelined, is disturbing. But let me ask you this: in your official capacity, are we at war with Iran?
So I would reject the characterization that my office has been sidelined. I would say the White House and the DOW are leading, and the military should lead when it comes to military engagements. I'm not part of the military now. As to legal distinctions under the War Powers Act,
at war with Iran?
As to legal distinctions under the War Powers Act and other statutes, I would have to defer to counsel on that. I think we're certainly in armed conflict with Iran. I think Iran wanting a nuclear weapon precipitated
let me say this,
conflict.
Undersecretary. Like I've asked you these straightforward questions, and you said you're not being sidelined, but then you keep saying that you got to defer to some other groups of people. You have, in terms of the act that enabled your office, a very powerful, important role, and yet you seem to be sitting there saying that you don't have any role right now.
Well, that mischaracterizes.
So it's very disturbing to me, and I think to other members of this
testimony,
committee.
Congressman. So let me clarify my testimony to make sure everyone at home gets it. So I haven't been sidelined. I think the military and the White House are leading, military efforts, and that's the job of the commander-in-chief, not the undersecretary of public diplomacy.
Well,
frankly, if the people who vote for commander-in-chief would be very surprised if I took that mantle.
Well, then why do we
I
have
didn't
your
run for it, and
why
I'm
do,
not
why do we
qualified
have your
for it,
office? Why do we have this role?
I also want to say you referred to my statutory mandate. My statutory mandate is to explain U.S. foreign policy, not formulate U.S. foreign policy. I obviously formulate, educational and cultural exchange policy, but
Sure, no, I understand. And just to keep us on time, let me make one closing remark. I think that by statute, you and your office have an important role to play. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that the administration agrees with me on that. I yield back.